Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, so Vietnam Dong. We know that their economy has been doing phenomenal. In 2020, they did better than every country as far as dealing with the coronavirus. 2021 took a back step because the coronavirus did hit them pretty hard, but they rebounded the second half of the year. And still the first quarter of 2022, they are going strong. Vietnam's currency is one of those currencies that continue to increase in value against a dying dollar. I don't care what the news says. The dollar is dying. They're going to lie their asses off as much as possible to prove to us that the dollar is thriving. It's doing great. But we know that that dollar is dead. So, the Vietnam Dong. Is the exchange rate going to change against the US dollar? Will it gain value? Yes, it actually is. I'll show you. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, go to our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you'll get a free half ounce of silver. Oh yes, look at that miner, $1,250. To my subscribers over there on Pimpy's News Network, this could be you. Or even better, this could be you. All 15 squares full, which led to a 64,000 jackpot that I got. That's right. If you're a subscriber on Pimpy's News Network and you pay $5 or more per month, this could be you. Once a month, we will select one name out of the network that pays $5 or more on their subscription, and you will automatically be entered into a drawing. If your name is selected, we will reach out to you via email to let you know you have been selected. We will let you know what day. We will go live on air from the casino, put in $100 on your behalf, and from there, everybody could watch live to see if you walk away with hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, and possibly even tens of thousands of dollars. We will all see live on air what the outcome is. That's going to be the fun part of this whole thing. So come on over, join Pimpy's News Network. $5 a month is all you have to pay to be eligible for the drawing. And again, if you're selected, we will do this live on air. You will see what the winner gets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come on over there and join us. I look forward to it. All right, so here we go. You can see right here, KB Securities, the US dollar versus the Vietnam Dong exchange rate may increase slightly in 2022. Not the type of increase we are looking for. As a matter of fact, it's so minor that it will be missed on most everybody's radar. It says rising foreign remittance in recent times have greatly helped the Bank of Vietnam's management over exchange rates. But as the US dollar is becoming stronger, while remittance only help contain the US versus the Vietnam Dong exchange rate in the short term, KB Securities Vietnam has forecast that the rate may increase by 0.5% to 1% in 2022. No, the dollar's not getting stronger. It doesn't make any sense. We already know this. So all the experts out there right now are saying this is a lie. Everybody sees what's going on. How could the US dollar possibly be getting stronger? So it's saying 0.5% to 1%. That's small. It's nothing. That increase is ridiculous, but you got to appreciate the fact that at least it's going in the right direction, if you get my drift, okay? The reality of the US dollar is going to come back to root here real soon. Real soon. I'd be surprised if we get past 2023 without the value of the US dollar dropping significantly. I'd be surprised. Many people are anticipating it losing its foreign reserve status. People are getting out of the habit of using the greenbacks or the US dollar or the reserve dollar to do trade. Other countries are starting to use their own currencies. So it won't take long before currencies start increasing in value against the US dollar unless you're pegged to it. So Vietnam's economy in Q1 expands, but supply chain inflation pose challenges. We know that the supply chain is an issue for everybody around the world. They got these ships sitting off the coast with every excuse in the world not to bring them into port. One of the things that crossed my mind is we know a lot of those containers smuggle human beings. If they've been sitting out there for weeks, God only knows what the hell happened to those human beings. It says Vietnam's economy expanded in Q1 of 2022, showing the country is open for business and visitors. However, challenges remain due to labor shortages, disruptions of supply chains, and inflation. Vietnam Briefing looks at what is contributing to Vietnam's growth and how it has fared in the early part of this year. So, unlike Iraq, whose growth is solely evolved around the oil, Vietnam has plenty of other ways to be generating revenue. The General Statistics Office released economic figures and cited that Vietnam's economy in Q1 of 2022 expanded by 5.03% compared to the same time last year. The growth, however, was down 5.22% versus the last quarter of 2021. Nevertheless, the government agency further stated that Vietnam is on track for economic recovery. So Q1's GDP structure was dominated by services at 41.7%. That's awesome. We need some of that to happen over there in Iraq. We're talking about services, restaurants and tourism, hotels, the whole 9 yards. Those are services. Followed by industry and construction of 37.97% and agriculture, forestry, and fishery at 10.94%. You see how this is broken down? Vietnam's not relying on just one industry to finance its budget. You can see it has many different areas to generate revenue. Services, industry, construction, agriculture, forestry, fishery. We need to see that in Iraq. Total retail sales of consumers' goods increased by 4.4% year on year, though passenger transport was down. Vietnam's exports stood at 88.58 billion, while imports were recorded at 87.88 billion. So it actually exports obviously more than it imports. That's what you want as a country. As with previous years, the U.S. remains Vietnam's largest export market at 25.2 billion of products. Vietnam's export and imports rose by 176 billion in Q1. So looking good. The rise is 14.4%. So how is Vietnam continuing to grow their economy? By opening up to the world. Vietnam was one of those countries that were very closed. They wouldn't do a lot of businesses with outsiders, not to mention allowing foreign investors to come into the country. There's a lot of restrictions. And since then, they've allowed themselves to open up, and a lot of foreign investors have been investing money and opening up business there in Vietnam. And that has greatly helped Vietnam. The one thing that's keeping its currency from increasing in value, of course, is the corruption that's within the country. That's one big part of it. Unlike Iraq, they have a pretty stable government, despite it being corrupt. They have a stable economy. They don't have uprisings. There is no terrorist organizations there. They export more than they import. They have other sectors to generate revenue outside of just being solely reliant on one, like Iraq does. But there are many corporations who do business in Vietnam, and those same corporations donate a whole lot of money to not just their politicians, but ours as well. This is why when you see them busted for currency manipulation, you won't see anything ever happen to them. They love the status quo because a lot of corporations make huge profit margins by outsourcing their companies over there in Vietnam and China and places like that because the labor and products are cheaper. One of the other issues is labor shortages have also hampered production. While factories remain open, workers that test positive for the Rona have to be isolated, resulting in shortages. Supplies that supply Nike and Adidas stated that around 40% of the staff had coronavirus at some point. In addition, workers that returned home once restrictions were lifted have not returned from their hometown. As per the GSO, 441,100 workers were added to the labor force in Q1, but that's not enough. Well, what a great problem to have. You have more job openings than you do employees. Just open up everything altogether, remove all restrictions, and economies should be booming around the world. So Vietnam looks good. They don't have any of the hangups that you see happening over there in Iraq. And they continue to grow over the last couple of years. They have done phenomenal jobs with their economy. One report saying they're going to see an increase in rate exchange from 0.5 to 1%, which is nothing, but at least it's a step in the right direction. It would be frustrating to anybody who invests in this particular currency because everything they need to have an increase in exchange rate is there. But unfortunately, both governments, our own and Vietnam, are content with leaving their currency manipulated. So we'll just keep an eye on it. It's just a matter of time before the US dollar does crash so much that they have no choice but to raise the rate in any significant increase. I find this particular article interesting because I've read now a handful of articles coming from other countries that are running into the same thing. So it seems to me like these globalists, their little agenda seems to be falling apart right in front of them. One of the reasons is, it says right here, after renewable frenzy, Vietnam's solar energy goes to waste. Solar and wind farms forced to limit operations due to infrastructure limitations, the renewable boom. Up to 12 days a month, a supermarket manager in Vietnam is forced to turn off his solar panels during the most lucrative peak sunshine hours. I'm losing on average 40% of output, referring to the solar panels he installed on the roof of his store so he could sell power to the national grid. Before the curtailments, our revenue was 100 million Vietnam dong, which is about $4,136. Now it's just 6 million Vietnam dong, which is just a little more than half. The manager said if Kiet did not shut off on his own accord, the state power company would come and disconnect them instead. Across the southern Vietnam and central highlands, authorities are asking small-scale energy producers like Kite and industrial solar farms alike to limit their operations due to infrastructure limitations. But a lot of other articles that I read is that they don't last very long. Solar panels are constantly having to be replaced. It's cost more money than they are saving in energy. Wait, I seen entire farms, fields, I mean miles and miles of solar panels having to be destroyed. It did its job shortly. They maintained it. They did all that's necessary, but it didn't accomplish anything that it was supposed to do. It actually cost more money to put in solar panels than it did benefit going into solar panels. Said after an unprecedented boom in renewable energy investments in recent years, the transmission lines that connect solar and wind projects to the natural grid lack the capacity to deal with spikes in supplies. Policymakers have not been able to keep up either, leaving regulatory gaps that prevent some investors from monetizing the power they harness. So what a waste in time. They either ask you to voluntarily make that switch or force you to make the switch, and what good does it? It's harming the businesses more than it's benefiting them. A transmission line takes 3 years to build and a wind farm 1 year to build. A clean energy expert told the news. So lines need to be planned years in advance. This was not possible since 2018. Nobody knew for certain where they would be needed. No, they do now. Vietnam is one of those countries that invested billions of dollars into renewable energy, and it's coming back to bite them in the butt and just a little over a decade later. It's terrible, and that's not the first country. They're trying to figure out how to get away from nuclear. You can't. They're trying to figure out how to get away from oil. You can't. Not yet. So what's the point of forcing everybody into the Green New Deal around the world claiming that we're dealing with climate change if you don't even have an alternative to it? Anyways, that's it for now. You guys hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel. I surely do appreciate it, and I'll catch you later. I'm out.